Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to, before we begin our next panel, I wanted to announce to all the bloggers who are downstairs at the Big Tent that Barbara Marks Hubbard will be speaking momentarily, and it's something you definitely don't want to miss. So I want to encourage you to come upstairs and become part of the audience on the second floor of the Big Tent. I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's been a part of this event. This has truly been a remarkable experience over the last 4 days. I've had a great time being a part of it. I think it's remarkable what the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado has achieved here with the effort and the participation of hundreds of volunteers who have made this possible. And also want to thank the sponsors who have been a part of it. DIG, who has provided the stage, Progress Now, who's been a part of this, the Daily Kos. I think YouTube is a sponsor, and Google is also a sponsor. And with that, I will introduce to you the founder, I believe, and the leader of the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado, Mr. John Powers.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for staying here till the closing session of the Big Tent, brought to you by the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado and our co-hosts, Progress Now and the Daily Kos. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Barbara Marks Hubbard. Barbara is the best, according to Buckminster Fuller, Barbara is the best informed person alive on the subject of the future and its implications for humanity. Barbara's name was placed in nomination for vice president in 1984 at the Democratic Convention in San Francisco. She is the co-founder of the World Future Society. She founded New Dimensions Radio. She holds the teaching chair for Wisdom University. She's the president of the Foundation for Conscious Evolution. When Barbara was 22, she said to President Eisenhower in the White House, "What good can come from all this nuclear power?" He replied, "I have no idea." She then said, "We better find out." Thus began her vision for a peace room for the White House. And we hope that this will become a reality. She has founded Citizen Solution Council, and today we are announcing her launch of citizensolution.tv. Barbara Marks Hubbard. Do I give this to her?
Where's my mic? There's my mic.
Oh, now you're working.
Okay, now I'm working. Okay, thank you all so much for coming on this final day of an incredible convention to transform the United States of America. And I'm totally proud, honored, and thrilled to be here among you and to actually launch the Citizen Solutions Council in the office of the Presidency of the United States.
Where's your mic?
I thought, you know what? Sure. You want to get it out of there? Okay.
Do you mind if I just put it right here in the middle? Excuse me.
Doesn't matter. Okay. I don't need a handheld mic. No. Okay, and I want to introduce my two great panelists. Would you please come forward from behind the curtain? Eleanor LeCain and Sue Ann Taylor. Eleanor? And Sue Ann. Eleanor was Assistant Secretary of State for Massachusetts. She was Director of Blueprint 2000, Strategic Planning for the State of Massachusetts, co-founder of the Citizen Solutions Council with me, and author of Breakthrough Solutions That Can Improve Your Life and Change the World, with an introduction by the Dalai Lama. Welcome. Thank you for coming, Eleanor. And my other panelist, Sue Ann Taylor, is a TV producer of 30 years, founder and executive producer of Zeal TV. She's worked with the UN environmental programs. She has multiple national syndicated series and is an innovator for broadcast networks delivered over the internet. Thank you for coming. And the really exciting thing about this particular moment is that through Sue Ann, we have launched the citizensolutions.tv. We are right now on internet and broadcast wherever Comcast is available.
We are wherever anybody has a high-speed connection to the internet.
We are now being seen by over 10,000 people. So you can think of a big auditorium, and what we're saying right now, supported by those who care about this, is something that in our work is to reach the world. And here's our purpose. We are establishing the first Citizens Solutions Network to connect what works in America, to identify the innovations and breakthroughs and solutions that exist in health, in education, in economics, in energy, connect them with each other and communicate them off up to the presidency of the United States of America, so that there's a link between the creativity of the people and the governing process of the United States. This link has been missing. We have efforts to solve our problems and overcome our crises, but we're not calling forth the immense creativity and genius of the American people already happening. According to Paul Hawken, we are part of the largest mass movement in the history of humanity. Hundreds of thousands and even millions of organizations are forming in every field and function. And how does that link up with the governing process? It does not yet. So we are here to establish that link. And we feel whoever is president of the United States really has to be informed by what's working in America. It's such a simple idea. Everywhere we look are breakdowns, but if you would just take one moment to think of the innovations and creative solutions now existing in health, in education, in economics, and imagine them connecting and being communicated as the new news, and being also communicated into the office of the presidency, and given that tremendous power of communication. If we are interested in the audacity of hope, we have to know what we're hopeful about. And we're not hopeful about all these crises. We're hopeful about all the solutions. So what we've got here is a solution to mobilize solutions. We have a process and method of identifying, connecting, and communicating what's working in America. And if you can imagine right now the number of citizens' activities that are going on, and I would say the one I would like to feature most of all is what's happening here in the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado. I would nominate this as the #1 project that's working, and the reason is it's already got about 29 organizations in one building. It's attempting the synergy and connectivity of those that are initiating toward a sustainable Colorado. And he said, we'll have a sustainable Massachusetts, we'll have a sustainable Vermont, we'll have a sustainable Maryland. And it's that synergy that's going to make for sustainability, for emergence, and for a positive future. It's very interesting when you study evolution. At times of great crisis in nature, when a system is overstressed, overshoots its environment, when a species is competitive and rapacious, it either learns to cooperate and collaborate with its environment and with itself, or it's extinct. We are the first species in the history of humanity who's been, in the history of life itself, who's been aware that we could render ourselves extinct by our own actions. That is the wake-up call of conscious evolution. That's why there are millions of organizations now responding to crisis and realizing opportunities. And that's why democracy itself depends on the connectivity of the creativity of the people with the power of the governing process in the United States. So I want, by way of introduction now, to introduce Eleanor, and I have a couple of very key questions for you, Eleanor. And the first question is, why do we need a Presidential Solutions Council?
Thank you, Barbara. Is the mic working? Is that better? How's that? A little closer, more intimate. Okay, great. Well, we live at such a critical moment in the history of our country and for humanity. And we're now in a situation where we're dealing with multiple systems breakdowns. We have problems in healthcare, in education, in the economy, in the environment, and the concerns around the global climate crises. So we're having multiple systems challenges. And the good news is we have solutions for every one of these challenges already. That someone somewhere has come up with the solutions that we need to deal with these crises successfully. The problem is that these solutions now exist as isolated models of what's possible. And what we need to do is to systematically scan for these solutions and then communicate them widely so that more people know about them and we can build on the best of what's working. So that's the key. And our proposal is that we call on the next President of the United States to set up a President's Council on Solutions that would systematically scan for, map, connect, and communicate the best of what's working all across America. This is about citizens mobilizing for solutions. And we have so many wonderful programs out there, it would be important for them to be better known.
What's an example of some of these solutions, Eleanor?
Well, there's so many examples of solutions, but in the field of education, for example, the problem now is we have dropout rates of about 50% in cities across America. And a lot of the kids who graduate don't know how to read and write very well. And yet there's a school in Harlem called Central Park East where 90% of the kids graduate and go to college. So if we can educate kids in Harlem where 90% of them go to college, why aren't we giving a better education to kids in cities all across America? Another example in the area of crime and public safety. We have a problem now with 2 million people in the United States in prison at a cost of about $25,000 per inmate per year, which is an annual cost of about $50 billion per year that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. And it doesn't solve the problem because these guys come out and very high rates of they'll come out and commit crimes again and go back to jail again. So spending a lot of money, problem not solved. Yet we have, as you know, because we visited together, Delancey Street program in San Francisco, where inmates go as kind of an alternative prison program. And in a 4-year program, inmates learn to take responsibility for their lives, and they learn 3 skills so that they can get jobs when they graduate from the program and become productive taxpayers, very productive members of society. So, and it is at 0 cost to we, the taxpayers. So we spend less and get a much better result. When we can find these kinds of examples in field after field, we can provide much better quality of living for all of Americans for billions of dollars less than we're currently spending.
It's really amazing to me that that link between citizens' innovations and the governing process has not been established. We've heard here time after time of the governments trying to solve the problems, but not noticing that the citizens are already solving so many of them. It's just like a missing link in the governing process. And the other part of it that is so essential is the news. because it's pretty obvious that the way the news is filtered is what's breaking down, what's sensational, and what's violence. And sometimes I think if I didn't know what was happening, if I wasn't fortunate enough to read these books and go to these conferences and meet these people, I would think we're going to hell. And I would think there isn't much hope, and I would not have the motivation to activate myself. But the moment we know what's emergent, we find the heroes and heroines that are already existing and give ourselves a way of participating, it activates the creative impulse in the person. And I see that we could be at the threshold of the renaissance of the greatest creativity that the human race has ever faced. And the reason we're at this renaissance is that the crisis is so deep that we have finally got hold. If we don't move, we'll self-destruct. So the government and the United States of America has been a beacon of light for people all over the world. We've lost the light. The light is from the people. And this is what we're going to do, and that's why I'm so thrilled that Sue Ann is here and has volunteered to create this demonstration network for us. Is that up there? There it is. So would you tell us, Sue Ann, just a little bit about what you've already done and what you see is possible for the Citizen Solutions TV?
Citizen Solution TV has a great opportunity to be a gathering spot, sort of. I used to travel to Africa, and at the end of the day, the animals all come together at a central place for water. And I see that if they could hit the play button in there, you'll be able to see that there's a continuous stream of video that that happens from our. There you go. We have the capability to deliver the same exact information in the same quality and format across the country and across the world. Anybody with a DSL or a high-speed connection can get the information. The other thing that we have the opportunity to do is to break that information down so that if you are in a community and you're experiencing a problem, you've just had a weather incident or something that's been all too common lately, you'll be able to go along, come on to citizensolutions.tv, and you'll be able to see how other people are rebuilding their communities. Some of the heroes that I've been able to get to meet are people like Millard Fuller, who has a video on here, and it's just a great opportunity because video can explain in 5 minutes what takes probably 50 pages of read material. And I think that we're living in such a sped up life that we just don't have time for the other kind of study. We need to be shown. Anything that's how-to has been extremely successful on our networks.
It's really basically the American spirit of what works on television. And I want to just give a thought here that we're identifying the basic functions, and I think of it as a wheel. We're reinventing the wheel. And the wheel is our turn on the spiral. And there is justice, there is economics, there is health, there is relationship, there is science and technology. And if you can imagine key people in every field who already exist being featured there with all their information, and then citizens being invited to put their solutions not just as separate solutions, but as part of a whole system shift. And our work would be to facilitate the connectivity of that which is already working, to seek common goals, to match needs and resources, to cultivate social synergy at the citizens level, and then feed up that synergy to the presidential level as a doorway to a collaborative future. Because it's really amazing to me how oppositional the entire system has become. No matter how good a person is, the closer they get to power, the more stuck they get in the nature of the systemic opposition. And this is true in organized religion, it's true in global corporations, it's true in nation states, it's true in academic disciplines. So we are actually popping through the oppositional framework into a collaborative, co-creative framework at the citizens level. And it feels to me like dropping a crystal into a super saturated solution to repattern at a more cooperative level. Because you know what most of us are being stuck in stereotypes, left, right, center. I see Paul Ray here. He's changing the wording. He says political north. I have always called it not left or right, but forward, upward, and whole.
Good words.
Forward, upward, and whole. So we're going to put the wheel of co-creation on Citizens Solutions TV. But Eleanor, how will these citizen councils work?
How it could work. The next president declares, with no need for any legislation, just says, I'm establishing the President's Council on Solutions. And then citizens from across the country can feed in their ideas of the best of what they know of what's working in their area of interest or their community. So that we funnel all these ideas up into the White House, and then we take the best of those and feed them into the government and help inform and guide government. So instead of spending a lot of money on things that are kind of outmoded or not as effective, we can be reshaping and rechanneling and retooling the programs to get the best of what's working already in the country. So that's what the government will do with it. And then the government also, through this council, will broadcast widely throughout the entire United States the knowledge about these What Works programs. And that way, any governors of states, mayors of cities, anybody living in a community, any citizen engaged or interested in any particular area can find out the best of what's working in their area and just take it and do it themselves. So the government will do some parts of it, and we help to influence and help bring the government into more effective mode. But we're not just relying on government, it's also communicating widely and having the citizens take action. And what we can do then is have, at the local, regional level, set up smaller solutions councils where people can get together and say, well, here's the best of what's working in Colorado, which, as you mentioned, the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado has already got its team together, and they're kind of working on the best of what's working for Colorado. So those kinds of councils can form in small communities, in cities, and in entire states and regions.
It's so interesting. Just one of the things that just happened today, I got a call from Dallas, Texas. And in Dallas, they're doing with Lynn McTaggart an experiment called the Intention Experiment. And the Intention Experiment is about how intention affects reality. And so this friend from Dallas called me up and said, what would you like us to intend? So we rapidly emailed them yesterday that we would like them to intend that there be the President's Solutions Council established in the next presidency of the United States, and the Citizens TV established. So I just got a call saying, well, we're all set for you. We want to know how people in Dallas can be trained to create their own Citizens Solutions Councils. We want to know how to get it on the Dallas media. We want to know how to fundraise for you, and what do you need? Now that's one city. Can you imagine getting to the mayors and governors of all the states of the union and asking them if they would like to know what works? I've never heard anybody who didn't want to know what works. It seems to me to be just a vacuum space that's so obvious it's not even a brilliant idea. It's an obvious idea. But how do you think that we're going to be able to involve the citizens in this? How are we going to, I mean, it would be wonderful if we reached citizens and they knew that by clicking on your televisions that they could put their solutions in and be heard and seen.
Well, there's a couple of answers to that question. Number one, the part of the way this grows more rapidly than any television has ever grown is it's a phenomenon called See Me On, in that you've got an idea, you have a solution, you send us the video, we put it on, you tell everybody you can see it on. It's the cross-referencing, the availability to be able to quickly identify and view the benchmarks. That's one of the things I think we're missing in our society, is a place to easily find out the benchmarks. You don't know what the expectation should be, and most people are responding to some kind of a crisis, whether it be the energy crisis, the housing crisis, financial, economic crisis. They're all responding to a crisis. And as soon as you're in that mode, you really need the benchmarks to really set up the expectations. And this is going to be a wonderful model to really address that situation. So if you've got a Katrina situation and you've had, 900 houses wiped out overnight, you'll be able to come on and find out what the realistic expectation is of rebuilding that community through the actual examples of people who've already been through it.
Yes. And Paul, what I think is so good about this is the constituency for a positive future, transcending left, right, or center, and that there is no center, as it used to be called, a sort of central position, that such a TV channel and such an effort could build the constituency, because it's not only what they would like government to do, but the whole value shift is really about what the people can do. So I want to cultivate this as a contribution to democracy. And I'll give you the vision that got me started when John Powers mentioned it. The thing about Eisenhower, it seems like a long while ago, but I just want to very briefly tell you this story exactly as it was. This all started for me when the United States dropped the first bombs on Japan. And I was 15 years old. And after the horror of this terrible thing, the question arose in my mind, what is the meaning of all this new power that's good? It wasn't just nuclear power. What is the meaning of science and technology and industry and communications that we have never had before in the history of humanity that is good? What's the image of a positive future, as they say in the futurist movement? So I started to read for images of the future equal to our new potential. And the amazing thing is they don't exist. And what we learn in the futurist movement, if you don't have an image toward which you're going, it's very hard to get there. So we've gotten stuck in a crisis mentality. And so my father was a friend of Eisenhower's, and I was 23 years old, and I had just a very perfunctory visit with the president. And he said, "Hi there, young lady, what can I do for you?" And I said, "Mr. President, I have a question for you." "Yes, young lady." "Mr. President, what do you think is the meaning of all this new power in science and technology that's good?" And he was totally startled. He shook his head and he said, "I have no idea." And then that's when I said, well, we better find out. And what is the meaning, not only of the crisis, but of the capacities of humanity? When you really look at that carefully, it's not just about overcoming immediate problems. It's about realizing potential so great that we're at the threshold, I think, of the radical evolution of our species. And the fact that we have no link between what's emergent and our governing process, and we're wrapped in crises reactivity, could actually be the problem itself. That, in other words, the problem is not just the problems in every field. The problem is we don't have a process and a vision of where we want to go and how to connect the positive in order to get there. And I believe that that process is the evolution of democracy itself. See, democracy is not a particular project. Democracy is a project. It's a process. And the problem with democracy now has gotten stuck in opposition and control and domination. Is it possible, do you think, my two panelists and those of you in this group, do you think that we could, in the next 4 years, mobilize a citizens' movement for what works and connect it to the presidency? Yes. You think we could? Let's really put our intention on it, along with Dallas. And so what do you see, Eleanor, about how people can get involved? And then let's invite our audience here and many friends of this movement to give their ideas as well.
Right. Well, I think, right now, people are really suffering in many ways. There's people facing foreclosures, lost their jobs, losing their houses, having medical issues that they can't pay for. They don't have health care. I mean, their kids aren't getting good schools, so good education. People are hurting in many ways, and yet they're so hopeful. I mean, doing this work and having done this research on what is already working, I feel a little bit like Pogo, surrounded by insurmountable opportunity. I mean, we have the solutions there, and I know we can do it in a very short amount of time, just by building on what's already out there that's working. So, and all it's going to take is for the people of America to stand up and say, first of all, we want a President's Council on Solutions. We want the White House to know and learn from citizen creativity and solutions. So we have a petition online. You can get on to this, citizensolutions.tv. We just started the petition a couple of days ago, and we already have quite a number of people signatories. So we invite you to get on and tell all your friends to get on to the citizensolutions.tv and sign the petition calling on the next president to set up the President's Council on Solutions. So that's number one of what to do. And then send that through all your email. We're going to do an email viral campaign. We'd love to get 1 million citizens calling for the President's Council on Solutions. And the second thing we can do, we're not going to wait for the president to do it. We hope that the president does it, and we ask if you know any presidential candidate or have access, let us know, and we want to get in and give this idea to the presidential candidate, so help us connect in if you would. But we're not going to wait for that. Whether or not the president does this, we, the people, are already in motion, have put together the citizensolutions.tv. It's up and running. We invite you now to go to that website and look if you're in any kind of area of interest or your activity. Go look for a solution, look for good schools, look for what do we do about energy independence. Go in there. If you have a solution you want other people to know about, we're going to make it possible for you to post it up on the website, so you'll have instantly have millions of people able to know what you have learned that works. So that's what people can do, and I think we can't just wait for the government. I mean, I live in Washington, D.C., let me tell you. The neighborhood has gone down. We really need citizen input in there to give a blast of juice and creativity and positivity, and we can do it. They're hungry for this kind of positive thinking and concrete, pragmatic solutions that work, that can lift the country to make a better country for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. So it's up to us to do it.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to ask you something. If people in this audience speak, can they hear you on TV when they speak? Are you,
if someone gives them a mic, and I think we're, and
do
they
they need to come up?
front. Yeah.
Okay, citizens.
But can I just add
Say
one little
something,
thing?
and then we'll get them on TV.
Then we'll bring them in. But it's nonpartisan. Solutions are nonpartisan. That is one of the key things I think that will make this grow and depolarize our country. If it is a partisan solution, it's not a solution. It has to be something that can tap into anybody's reality. And I think that that's one of the great things that the internet has done, is it's the great egalitarian of all time. My husband is a LEED certified AP architect, and he talks about integrated design all the time. And I think that integrated design in our buildings, like the one that John Powers has done here, is going to start becoming kind of the matrix for which we're going to pull all these things together. And I think this network and your council will be an outgrowth of those ideas.
Thank you so much. And now I would like to invite anybody who has an idea about this, or what you think about it, to come up here, and you will be on citizensolutions.tv by speaking. So this is an example of what we're talking about.
Hi, my name is Spencer. It's not an idea, but I just have the question. First of all, you've already solved the first problem, which is to set up the infrastructure for this, and that's wonderful. I thank you for that. The second problem is getting in touch with the people at the top levels of government. have overtures been made to both of the candidates' campaigns?
They're being made right now. They're being made right now, and we know that by reaching as many people as possible right now, it will be much easier for the candidate to accept it. Just as an example, my friend Neil Donald Walsh has an 80,000 person mailing list. This goes very fast, so he has sent this information to 80,000 people. 80,000 people are being asked to send it to all their mailing lists. You can go viral very fast with these kinds of ideas, and our goal is to get directly to President Obama, and as well as whatever happens with President McCain. And what we want to do with Obama, since we're at a Democratic National Convention, is that when he starts his campaign, that he and Joe Biden would mention that one of the key things of their campaign is to identify, connect, and communicate what's working in America, and they're going to do that. We want you to intend with us that the next president during the campaign says this, and then we will support the presidential candidate by connecting through these viral networks. I think the greatest challenge we'll face is handling the tremendous response that could come to this, particularly if the president is for it. That's what does it.
If I could speak to this, you're absolutely right. It'd be great to get into the high levels of both campaigns. We ask you and anybody who's listening, if you have any ties or ways to get in to see Senator Obama, Senator Biden, Senator McCain, and whoever Senator McCain picks as his vice presidential choice, then we ask you to get on the citizensolution.tv and communicate that information to us, because we need help doing it. We're not in that kind of inner circle government stratosphere. We're of the people, we're the citizens, but we would appreciate the channels of communication in, so we welcome any and all introductions.
It's very exciting. Thank you very much for that.
Very much. Anybody else like to say something?
I'd like to make a quick clarification. This is a demo. This idea and this demo are 72 hours old. So, and these take months and months to build. But one of the things that we at Zeal TV do is we solicit viewer input at every stage of the game. Most websites and television networks are put together by people who put them together, and then they launch them out to the public. We do a ready, fire, aim approach. We get it out there, and we poll our audience all the time. Feedback, feedback, feedback. However, do not expect every one of these buttons when you go on there to be working today, but check back often, because more and more and more will be added every single day.
Thank you. Yes. Just say your name, too, when you...
My name's Duncan Campbell, and I have a solution to
Oh,
add
good.
to your Citizen Solutions. And I just want to say that this is something that came to me 4 full years ago, and it really illustrates why this is such a great idea. I had occasion not only to be in the consciousness movement for many, many years, but also to be the director and an early investor and a director of an emerging solar company about 5 years ago. And I resigned a couple years ago when we got our first venture capital and so on. But the result was I was in a unique position to see that not only is consciousness changing, but I caught on early on 5 or 6 years ago that new energy, solar, wind, biofuels, et cetera, would be the wealth creation vehicle for the 21st century, dwarfing telecommunications, computer technology, electronics, et cetera, and it would be bringing real benefit to people all over the world, including the 1.25 billion people that don't have light, for instance.
Yes.
So this is not more video games or more stuff. This is the real thing. So it took me 3 years before I could communicate this to anybody in the venture capital industry. They just were not getting it. They finally got it when Tom Friedman wrote his big article, Red, White, and Blue is Green, in 2006. But I already saw this in 2004 when John Kerry was running, that the one Achilles heel of Bush was that he was completely tied to the old fossil fuel economy and the oil interests, and so Kerry could win on a new energy platform. So I had this whole vision of new energy bonds, which would be the 21st century equivalent of war bonds that FDR used to mobilize the economy in World War II. But the key here is to use the venture capital model, which didn't exist for FDR or JFK, and make these available to ordinary people so they could buy them like treasury bonds, get 3 or 4% a year, just the market rate, and after 7 or 8 years convert them like a convertible debenture at the original price so they could make 10 to 20 or 30x returns themselves. Ordinary people, the people that are making our productivity work. This is a genius idea, and it got nowhere with John Kerry. He's my classmate. He's my former debate partner. It didn't get through the Clinton triangulation advisors that were throttling him like a belt in 2004. I saw him at our 40th reunion in 2006. I gave it to him again personally. He said, oh, we're really interested in solar. I'll get back to you. Never heard from him. Nothing happened. I've been trying for 8 months now to get this through to Obama. And he did buy off on the idea of the slogan, New Energy for a New World. He did buy off on that on August 4th. That came from this, from 4 years ago, from a citizen. Now it's New Energy for America and get off Mideast oil in 10 years. That's right out of the draft that I made 4 years ago. So to have this access of good ideas that arise all over the world, it's like Darwin and Sullivan. We all get these ideas. They don't just happen to the elites. And in fact, they almost never happen to the elites.
Exactly.
So this is great, Barbara. Really great. And I'll give you a copy of it and we can put it up.
Very good, very good. Anybody else like to
And we'd
give
like to
a
have it in video.
solution? Yes.
Thanks. I have a question.
Two problems.
This is Pat Lynch with Women's Radio. You talked about people putting up their ideas and then processing those ideas and then putting those ideas out to the president or the president's council. How are you processing the ideas? Who determines what is a good idea, or how does it bubble up to the top?
Yeah, take it.
Okay, well, we have kind of the two entities running parallel. Will be first the President's Council on Solutions, and what we'll do is we'll have a team of advisors, because we've organized society into the 12 sectors of the wheel of innovation, or the wheel of co-creation that Barbara talked about. So the areas would be, for example, actually they're up here, energy, environment, education, health, so forth. So for each of those sectors, we'll have a team of advisors who would be able to sort through what's coming in and then feed it into the relevant agency in government for it to be implemented at the government level, and then broadcast out through a President's Council on Solutions website. So that's kind of track one. Track two is the work we're doing with the citizensSolutions.tv. And the thought we have right now is that anybody can put up their information on their solution, like this fellow Duncan Hunter just talked about, can put it up. And what we hope to move towards is a situation where it's kind of like Google. So ultimately, we're going to have hundreds or thousands of suggestions for what could be done on the economy, for example. And it'll be whoever has their solution get the most viewership rises to the top. So it's not like we're going to say, you know, these are the top 5. It's the people who are out there working in this field say, I find this the most interesting and the most helpful. That's what I'm visiting. Because like Google, it's the best of the most interest, the people are going to rise to the top. And we already have the technology developed by Google. We had the Google folks here at the hospitality downstairs, and the president of Google was here today. So we're hoping to build in that kind of technology on the citizensolutions.tv.
And we're also identifying what's working. It's not only what we propose could work, and we have criteria that are relatively simple to just not so that we're not trying to judge everybody's project, but there would be certain simple criteria: sustainability, nonviolence, gender equality, a responsibility, enhancing of freedom, replicatability. So we would have simple ones for people, and I think it'll be like Wikipedia. We won't try to tell people what works and what doesn't work. They will put it in and it will self-select. However, in every sector of the wheel, we already have not just simply advisors, but innovators and creators of the highest order. And they have been colleagues of us for years, people like Hazel Henderson in ethical marketplace, Jean Houston in creativity, Amory Lovins in energy. We have people who are already working on this, who are already networked with what's working. And as soon as we have the TV established, we will contact the colleagues that we already know and trust and ask them to place their networks in there and have their networks connect with their networks on what's working. And it will start to fill up. Paul Ray.
Just let me add on to that while Paul's getting the mic, that we've already started talking to friends and colleagues about this. I spoke with Van Jones, who runs the Green Jobs for All, asked him if he'd help us find out what's the best of what's working for green jobs in the new green clean economy. He said he'd be happy to participate with us. I talked to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a couple of days ago, who's done tremendous work on cleaning up the waterways in the United States. They've cleaned up hundreds, if not thousands, of riverways and waterways all across the country. So I asked him if he could help us find the best of what's working in cleaning up polluted water and riverways. He said he wants to participate. So I think it's going to be a tremendous attractive magnet where we can get the best that's out there and bring it up now and bam, do it fast, quick, easy.
Perfect. Now, let me add a critical idea that we need guides for good storytelling, good case studies. So one of the things I want to urge you to do is get up on the website, here's how to tell your story well. Here's the elements of a good case study that lets people know how to put it across so that the other people understand their innovation well. And so what I'd like to suggest as part of the citizen feedback is, this is what I didn't get about what you've got. This is what isn't clear. Tell me more about that. Can you personalize it a little bit? How does this really suit citizens? What will be their experience of it? What was your own experience? What worked well? What didn't work well? And all of that.
Very good. So it's not just written material, it's also the stories.
No, we tend to believe that we have to report to somebody higher up so they can stroke their chin and wisely decide whether to do something or not. And that isn't what citizens actually want. They want to know what the experience is. They want to know really what works. What was hard about it? What was easy about it? Where did you have the bottlenecks? How did you solve the bottlenecks? Tell them about your process. How did you get that innovation to actually work so other people can see, oh, I have a half of an idea for an innovation. Maybe I can bring it to more success.
Oh, I think that.
Would I be willing to do what? Let me prepare something first, but yeah, sure,
yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very, very good. Yes.
I do. One of the questions that people ask me is, what's the difference between Zeal TV's networks and YouTube? And the difference is we are professional television producers, and we do full program. We do the same kind of programming that you would find on cable or broadcast television. Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's all told in a story format. Magazines are our favorite format, and to further address that, we will have regularly scheduled programming that will be made for this network, just like any of our other networks, like Choosing Green has regularly scheduled programming, and it will be just like any other network. There's 3 forms that you'll be able to find programming. There's the daily lineup, and you come in, and that happens without you having to do anything else. Video on demand, which gives you the opportunity to seek what you need when you need it. And that's one of the things that's very, very important, because there are some things that may be more obscure. If you're working on, say, religion conflict or something like that, we will have materials on how to handle some of those things. But they may not be as popular as an education video with Angelina Jolie. And then thirdly, we have, eventually when we get it fully built, there'll be a little button that will light up if we are at a function like the DNC and we're broadcasting live. So those 3 forms will really help us keep our collective people around that water hole connected.
Yes. You know, when we did a synergistic convergence conferences, every night we produced the new news, and we did it like a regular news show, only we're the news. And it's a huge difference when people recognize that they are the news. And being produced as newsworthy, which is a very good idea. At these conferences we gave, some people were trying to put their point of view across and were always rejected because of the way they said it. And we had a council on high priority needs where we asked them to watch themselves on television. And so the person would be, you know, doing it in a way that didn't work, would see him or herself on TV, and then we'd send them back in to communicate again and let us know if it worked this time. We could have a whole council on helping people communicate their ideas. It's a very good idea. So we become, in a way, a productive facility for citizen communicators and citizen newsmakers. It's a real shift in the tide here. You know, it's complex. We have only 2 minutes left, so I think I'd like to conclude with a vision and with what we really want to do. The vision, when my name was placed in nomination for Vice President of the United States on the Democratic ticket in 1984, and here was the vision. I called it a peace room to become as sophisticated as a war room. Now just think for a moment, as a war room, mapping and connecting every single possible enemy and how to defeat them. A peace room would become so sophisticated within the next 3 or 4 years, if it really works, that it could scan the whole social body for things that are creative. It could map them as organs in the social body that's already emerging. We are in the midst of a new world now. It would help people connect with each other who are creative. Instead of everybody trying to do it on their own or in small groups, we would connect them, and then there would be communicate for greater public participation. So I want to hold the vision that what we are initiating here at the Democratic National Convention, and we will also initiate at the Republican Convention, will actually lead within 4 years, now that we have internet, to a function as sophisticated as our war rooms. And the war rooms will have less and less to fight if we have more and more to create. Yeah. This is the greatest security program that we could have. Eleanor, do you want to say a final word of what people can do now?
Yes, yeah, thank you. I just want to refer back to Senator John F. Kennedy, when he was a presidential candidate, declared that he would, when in office, open the Peace Corps to have Americans help with our neighbors all across the world. And when elected, President Kennedy set up the Peace Corps, and it continues to this day, and it's been a tremendous way of goodwill for Americans around the world. We could now have a similar presidential candidate who would declare, if elected, I will have a President's Solutions Council in the White House, and then go ahead and do it. And so we would like everybody to come now and go to the citizensolutions.tv and sign the petition to call on the presidential candidates to commit to a President's Council on Solutions, and to give us your solutions if you've got them, learn about what's working in America, and donate to our initiative so we can get this demo model into a full-fledged television network. Thank you so much.
You want to say a final word?
I just appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the next wave of communication.
Okay, I'd like us all to stand up and to just take a moment of shared intention here. How many of you would like to see a President's Solutions Council functioning? How many of you will go to Citizen Solutions TV and sign that petition? Yeah. How many people do you think you're connected with if all the people you're connected with were connected to the people they're connected with? We have enough already. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Alliance for Sustainable Colorado. Thank you. I was asked to say a final closing word on behalf of this whole Alliance for Sustainable Colorado. There is really, I would just like to say in my heart, the bringing of us together at this time of the massive crisis on planet Earth with the spirit of the progressive voice of humanity, the voice of the people. I have never seen so many synchronicities as in this event. You can simply walk in anywhere and you've met 3 or 4 people that you wanted to meet for your entire life. And not only that, they want to meet you.
Yes.
People that I had no idea ever wanted to meet me. We're thrilled. And I'm sure that this has happened to every person here at this alliance. And the fact that it is not only for sustainable Colorado, but it's a sustainable alliance. So many conferences are great and then people go home and it doesn't hold together. I think we are privileged to be at a time and a place when an Alliance for Sustainable Colorado is hosting an alliance for the people of the United States to become aligned with what works. And we want to work with the Alliance. We want to work with every citizen who is here at the Democratic National Convention and at the Republican Convention. And I'd like you to hold with us that in 4 years, when there is another Democratic and Republican convention, that this will be done. We will have won. This will be done. We will have won. Let's throw the ball to the people.
The ball is in your court.
This is a new ball game, my friends. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Sue Ann. Sally Randall. Sally.